Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a different location. This is one of my bookshelves in my room. It's not complete. I also have another bookshelf next to me, but that isn't what this video is about, and I am aware I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Well, I mean, I'm jumping on it a little bit late, but I am consistently late on most trends, most new books, and that's okay, that's chill. But today I'm going to run you through some of my worst books of 2021, but just to preface it a little bit, if you like these books, that's fine. A lot of these I've noticed are because I don't read a certain genre, or they just weren't for me, for many different reasons. And a lot of them are quite hyped books, but I didn't like them very much, so that's just my opinion. Other than the DNFs, which I'm just going to quickly run through, a lot of these I don't own anymore. When I moved house, which I've now done twice in 2021, hopefully I'm not going to need to do that again. No, I moved 3 times in 2021. Hopefully we're going to be staying here for a long time, but I got rid of a bunch of my books, hence why I only have 2 bookshelves in my room, and some of my books are downstairs as well in the living room. But let's just get into this. So, DNFs, let's just get them out of the way. First of all, I was really disappointed. I really wanted to like this first one because this book is beautiful, and that is This Golden Flame by Emily Victoria. I didn't get very far into this one before I realised that this was painfully YA, and I did not want to go through that. I still own it because, I mean, it's the Fairy Loot exclusive signed edition, and quite honestly, like, it's just very pretty. So again, if you like this one, that's fine. I just couldn't get through it, and I don't think I'm going. Well, I might pick it up again, but most likelihood is I don't think so. Not really for me. The second book that I DNF'd, which I don't have a copy of, I started listening to this on Scribd, was Gideon the Ninth, which I really wanted to like, but I started the audiobook thinking that it was a completely different story and a completely different genre, essentially. And yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like the narrator. I thought the story was interesting because I thought it was, oh, high fantasy necromancers, that's really fun. No, that's not what you're getting. You're getting a YA science fiction based on a spaceship necromancers, which sounds awesome. And I probably will try this one again, but I'm probably going to pick up a physical copy. The audiobook narration just didn't gel with me. So I know that both Nico and Hannah probably are going to be disappointed in me for not liking this one. But I will try it again because I am interested. And yeah, necromancers on spaceships. The next book that I DNF'd was Circe. There is a copy downstairs, but it's on top of the bookshelves, and I can't reach that. But I didn't like Circe. I was bored. I DNF'd Circe because everything that we didn't know about Circe happened within the first, 60 pages, and I just didn't like that. I didn't get on with that. So I just knew the rest of Circe's story. I just got real bored. And I thought, no, you know what, it's not worth it. Why am I wasting my time with this book? And again, I know I know most people enjoy Madeline Miller. Saying that, I haven't read Song of Achilles yet, but I probably will. I am interested in that one. But who knows, maybe Madeline Miller just isn't for me. The next book I DNF'd was Splintered. Now, this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but it was a lot of mental health rep, and it was badly done. It was YA, again, painfully so, and I hated it. I think I read 10 pages, and I was like, absolutely not, I can't do this. And it was my first book that I ever DNF'd. And I remember, because it was when I was still living with my sister in the caravan, and I was on a Zoom call with letter M, Hannah, and Hannah was like, just DNF it, what are you doing? Why are you trying to force your way through a book that you clearly don't like, that's triggering, etc, etc, etc. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah, no, you're right, of course you're right. And yeah, so that was the first book I ever DNF'd, and I'm very glad that I didn't put myself through that. The last book I DNF'd was Valiant by Holly Black. And this, I had 2 copies of, funnily enough. I had the Compendium, which is the Modern Fairy Tales, and just Valiant on its own. And I really like the Cruel Prince series. Like, I really, really like the Cruel Prince series. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't think I have it on here. I don't know where I put it. But it's a lot of fun, and I just really enjoyed the fairy magic. I really love Spiderwick Chronicles as well, the middle grade, the Holly Black Rope, but there was something about Valiant. I think it was because it was so... It just reminded me of the 90s, and there were phrases in it. It just made me feel a bit iffy, and I just didn't like it. I know that, again, Hannah is loving Modern Fairy Tales, and I'm so glad. I'm so pleased for you. But I hated it, and I DNF'd it. So that's all I really need to say. It's like a modern, like, it's an urban fantasy. I just didn't like it. I don't know. So now into kind of the worst books of 2021. I'm not really going to put this in any kind of order, to be honest, because I don't feel like it needs to be in an order. So I'm just going to pick them up and talk about them when I get to them. And the first one on this list is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Cloon. Now, I gave this one... Sorry, I'm just looking at my laptop. I gave this a 3-star. There was nothing really wrong with it, but the pacing was really funny. And it started off really well. For one, this is the Illumicrate edition as well, because, you know, I'm not going to have a book left on my shelves I didn't really like if it's not pretty. And this one is gorgeous. This one, the problem I had with this, and the thing that gave it 3 stars, was the ending. I'm not going to spoil it. I think it's a decent book, but the ending bothered me no end. I liked the characters. I thought... TJ Cloon is doing it again with these really boring, unlikable men and teaching them how to be kind of human. And this follows a guy who dies and his soul is taken to Hugo, the ferryman. And it's just such a charming story set at a tea shop where you just watch life happen, and it is very beautiful. The writing is lovely. It's quite sad. It touches on themes of loss, obviously. It's about, like, there's animal death in this, so triggers, I guess. But, like, every single character in this is so interesting. My favourite, obviously, being Hugo. There's racial rep, there's disability rep. Chef's kiss. It's fab. It's just fab, so... LGBTQ+ as well. TJ Cloon is very good with this, and yeah, it's just super interesting. I would probably recommend picking this one up, even though I didn't particularly like it, but I think, you know, the ending was just convenient. Next on my list was Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This one, I think, again, I gave it 3 stars. This was fine. I enjoyed Carry On. I enjoyed this one. It was just okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't really have anything to say about this one, other than it was one of my lowest ratings this year, which was kind of baller, to be honest. But again, this one is very pretty, hence why I still own it. But I didn't hate it enough to get rid of it, to be honest. It was just okay. Again, if this was one of my worst books, I had a pretty good reading year. Next up, this one, The Lights of Prague by Nicole Jarvis. Now, this started off relatively well. This was a buddy read between myself, Lidette M, and The Bookworm's Feast. And it's a vampire story. And it was a lot of fun. And then it just got boring, I want to say. I don't really remember much out of this, other than it was vampires in Prague. I think I gave this one 3 stars again. Again, nothing wrong with it. It was just a bit meh. And reading it with other people obviously made it a lot more fun. But again, I have nothing to say about this. It was just fine. Next up is another really pretty book and another huge disappointment. And I wanted to like this one more. I really, really, really wanted to like this one more. And I'm so sad that I just didn't. And that is... The Fairy Loot edition is really pretty, but it's Witches Steeped in Gold. There's nothing I can say about this. The story should have been different. Or the blurb should have been different. The blurb sold this as something it isn't. And I don't know, the characters in this were fantastic. The writing was pretty good. But the story was just not what I thought it was going to be. And again, I just really wish I liked this one more. That being said, this was a 3-star again. This is not bad. There's nothing wrong with this, but the blurb sold a different story than what we were given. Hence why it's on the lower side of my ratings this year. And I will be picking up the sequel when it comes out because I think it could get better. And also, this edition, like if Fairy Loot do a sequel to this, I will be picking it up. This one I feel really bad about, but it's Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Now, this was fun. Again, 3 stars. Actually kind of good. I don't read romance. I'm not into it. I'm not huge into romance. This is not a bad book. I just want to reiterate this. I just read a lot more fantasy, and I enjoy fantasy a lot more over contemporary romance. And I like Chloe. I'm not going to pick up any more of Talia Hibbett's books, though. I just don't think they're for me. And I think that's fine. I know that loads of people love this. I can see why. Like, it's a lot of fun. Was I a big fan of Red, though? I don't think I liked Red very much, to be honest. He was just a bit of a dick. But Chloe was fun. I thought Chloe was brilliant. Obviously, there's chronic illness rep in this. It's, again, BIPOC. And, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see this story. There's sex positivity in this. Chloe obviously isn't stick thin, so that's always nice. Again, it just wasn't for me, but I know that a lot of people out there love it. If you want to see someone talk about this and have it giving a glowing review, there are loads out there, I promise. I am just a bit of a weirdo, and I don't read romance. So, next up. Now, this is Bone Music by David Almond. I picked this up in Waterstones because of the cover, and I still maintain the cover is fucking stunning, let's be honest. But this is a middle grade which focuses on kind of like your connection to your ancestors and music. And there was nothing wrong with it. It just, a lot of nothing happened. And it was kind of one of those eco-warrior stories that is hiding as something else. So the messages that were being pushed were a lot more about like protecting nature and all this kind of stuff. It's really short. It's a decent read. It's a middle grade. It's not aimed at me. So again, it got 3 stars. It just wasn't necessarily what I was looking for at the time, but I still picked it up. I enjoyed it. It's an interesting read about ways music can be connected to nature and, you know, the past. And this girl finds a flute. It's made out of the bones of, like, I think some kind of bird, and she keeps on being drawn to this hill with some standing stones on it, if I remember correctly. And she keeps on getting taken back to the past with this flute. And she goes missing, and there's a whole thing. Again, not bad, just not really, like, it's just not the best fantasy book I've read this year. Certainly not the best middle grade this year. Now, let's talk about the books I no longer own. Or I don't own physically. Okay, so I read an arc on NetGalley of a graphic novel called The Keeper of the Little Folk. Nothing wrong with it. It was translated from French. Just a bit boring, to be honest. It was 3 stars. The art style was lovely. Absolutely adorable. But the story, there was nothing happening. It was a girl whose grandmother, kind of like Spiderwick, almost, weirdly, but whose grandma was in like a old people's home, and they thought she was kind of insane because she was talking about the fairies at the bottom of the garden, and the main character goes and talks to her grandmother, and her grandmother explains about this kind of other world where it's the little folk, and they need to be protected. And it's like this girl's journey on becoming like the keeper of the like little folks' secrets, and it is part of a series. So again, maybe because it was just the first part of a graphic novel, it just didn't feel completed. It didn't feel very well developed, but I know with graphic novels it takes a little bit more, because graphic novels tend to be kind of like their own thing, but also part of a wider story. I don't know, I've read better graphic novels, to be honest, so that's why it's there. Then the next one was Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan Mcguire. Now, listen. I love the Wayward children's series. Love, 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 love. I did not love Beneath the Sugar Sky. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like the main character. I didn't like Cora. I thought she was whiny and unnecessary. I've now read Where the Drowned Girls Go, and I like Cora a lot more now. But Beneath the Sugar Sky, she just kind of felt like... It kind of felt like, why were you there? Like, we weren't reading your story. We were reading Sumi's story, not Cora's. And she was just this unnecessary voice. But, I don't know, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. The narration was good. The audiobooks, as always, for Wayward Children, fabulous, amazing, great, top tier. But this one just wasn't great. Okay, so the last two books that I'm going to talk about, I don't own them. And I'm never going to own them again. I gave them both 2 stars. These were my least favourite books other than the DNFs of this year. I only had 2 books this year that got 2 stars. So, I mean, pretty fucking good if you ask me. Firstly was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I got rid of all of my ACOTAR books. I didn't feel like I needed them. They had the original covers, and I sold them. I didn't like them. I didn't like it. I didn't like A Court of Frost and Starlight. I think ACOTAR as a series is a fun series, if you like that kind of thing. And it is fun. I just thought A Court of Frost and Starlight was so unnecessary. Like, why? Why do you need it? Why was that necessary? Oh, to set up the plot point for A Court of Silver Flames. No one cares. No one cares. Literally no one cares. It was so boring. And then probably the worst book that I've read this year, that I recommend to absolutely no one, was A Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. It got 2 stars. It got the lowest 2 stars on this list. It was just a bit shit. It was just... I don't even know how to explain it. I buddy read it with Letter M, The Bookworm's Feast, and Danny, Bookish Danny. And that got me through it, but it was unnecessarily long. It could have been easily 200 pages less. And it wasn't... It was weird, because they added 200 pages. If it had just been erotica the entire time, I'd be like, okay, it served its purpose, it's doing what it's going to do. But then there was a lot of exposition. And it was just like, why are we still here? Like, I don't actually care about the story. Like, I don't care. And it was just awful. There's so much stuff in there. There's violence being a big one, body horror, yeah, kidnapping, so much. It was gross. It made me feel very ick. And, like, I had a bee in my bonnet about Kenzo in particular. I still don't like him. He's a slimy asshole. The rest of them I was like, well, whatever. But, no. Kenzo was the one that broke the camel's back, to be honest. Didn't like him. But yeah, that was my worst book. Now, if you want to tell me that I'm wrong about most of these books, go ahead, like, that's fine. I probably won't disagree, but I just didn't like them. But I know that a lot of people out there do like a lot of these books, and yeah, that's just my opinion. I had a great reading year this year. I read mostly 4-star books, which very pleased about. I don't know if I'm just being not critical enough, possibly, but the fact that most of the books on this list are 3 stars, like 3 stars for me is decent. Like, there's literally nothing wrong with this book. Like, it was fine. If you got to this point, thank you. And yeah, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!